People are watching closely. Michigan's High Court will decide how to apply a ruling from the U.S. Supreme Court that says mandatory life without parole for juveniles is unconstitutional.
WSBT's Kelli Stopczynski has been looking into this, and Kelli, Michigan now has to decide what to do.
Cindy, the law says anyone in Michigan convicted of first-degree murder automatically gets life without parole. Doesn't matter if they're 14 or 40. But after the Supreme Court ruling, Michigan has to decide whether it should be retroactive. In other words, whether juveniles sentenced decades ago should get new sentences.
Death would be the easy way out.
This judge is reading a letter from a family member of a 28-year-old grocery store manager gunned down in Berrien County in 1989.
I would much rather the people found guilty of this crime spend the rest of a very long life in prison.
The judge who sentenced 16-year-old Efren Paredes for that murder had no choice but to give the teenager life in prison without parole. Berrien County prosecutor Mike Sepik convicted Paredes 25 years ago.
We're watching every minute.
If the High Court allows Paredes and 10 other men convicted as boys in Berrien County to get new sentences, Sepik's office is preparing. But that work isn't easy.
Maybe you can put those right in front there.
These are files from those 11 cases. Resentencing means prosecutors would have to find out what the killer's life was like as a kid, including grades in school, information that could be hard to find. But contacting victims' families may be toughest.
In a sense, we made an agreement with victims. If someone is found guilty of first-degree murder, the agreement is that person gets life without parole. And here we are now, albeit it's the U.S. Supreme Court telling us this, but on the other hand, we now, as a society, have in a sense breached that agreement.
Any case involving a death is difficult, and it just has to be fair for both sides.
Lanny Fisher represented Dakota Eliason, who killed his own grandfather when Dakota was 14. A judge sentenced him to the mandatory life in prison.
The juvenile mind is not as developed as an adult mind, and I think the science has told us that, and now the law is starting to catch up with the science, that it's not a one-size-fits-all for a 14 or 15-year-old as opposed to a 40 or a 50-year-old.
Since Dakota's case happened to be on appeal when the U.S. Supreme Court made its decision, he will automatically be resentenced. This time, it's up to a judge, though, not mandatory. The court has not yet set a date for that. And as for the other cases, the prosecutor will have to wait for the state Supreme Court ruling. At the live desk, I'm Kelli Stopczynski, WSBT Channel 22 News.
Thank you, Kelli. A federal judge in Detroit expects to make a decision